Yo-ho, it's Friday, my friend, May the 4th, 2018, and welcome to hour number 10. We're in double digits on the 24 hours of action, where every day is a peak inside my process of creating content, where the emphasis is on consistency and action, not perfection. Yes, my friend, every day I'm dedicating 1 hour of action to creating a podcast episode, a blog post, and a YouTube video. I'm telling you all about this journey that I'm on, 24 hours of action in real time as it's happening, and you're with me right now. This is hour number 10. Did not have a very good morning, and everything I just told you about this 1 hour of action, it's not true this morning. It's not between the hour of 5:45, or excuse me, between the hour of 4:45 and 5:45. It's currently 6:28, and I started off my morning just like I normally do. Everything was fine. I wrote out a blog post on my topic of the day, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. And just as I was about to hit publish on that post, my blog crashed, and everything that I had written was gone, just vaporized into thin air. The lesson I learned after I composed myself, which did not happen immediately, I was pissed. I was not happy, and I wanted to throw something. I wanted to kick something across the room, and I let that pass, and I rewrote the post. I had to just do the best I could to recreate it. Honestly, I don't think the second version was as good as the first. My head wasn't as clear. I was pissed. I was still pissed about what had happened. And it's basically the same message, but quite frankly, I don't think the second post was as good as the first. I'll take some time to clean that up later, but not during this hour of action. During this hour of action, it's all about just getting it down. It's all about just getting my thoughts out and knowing that a pretty good product created in 1 hour is better in the long run than a really good product that's created in, 10 hours or 20 hours, because it's all about using our time wisely and understanding the opportunity cost of our time and moving on with our lives. This too shall pass, my friend. Had a couple of some good feedback on yesterday's episode. You just never know what particular topics are going to strike a nerve with people. And the topic yesterday was whether or not college education is going to be as valuable moving forward as it has been in the past. And my take on it is that it has not, that it will not be as valuable in the future as it has been for a variety of reasons. Got some interesting feedback. A friend of mine, Drew Stutzman, wrote on the topic of whether or not college is overrated. He says, I contemplate this all the time as I am in the trenches every day teaching college English. There are many perspectives when thinking about this idea of, quote, worth. If one is in an advanced track that includes a master's program before an undergrad sets foot in a class, then it's worthwhile because it fast tracks the student's actual class time. I've seen students finish with a bachelor/master's in 4 years versus the usual 6 or 7 if the student busts their tail, and this saves them time and money. But in doing this, it kind of makes college a job training site instead of, quote, Animal House, which I love. I love that idea that, college is more about just the education. But then Drew goes on to say, that said, college is just as equally a social experience that can't be overrated, and learning to deal with adults and navigating through peer groups in this setting is so important. And totally agree with everything Drew says there. And this is coming from someone who's in the trenches, as he says, of the college experience every day on the educator side. So really appreciate the thoughtful response, Drew, and I thought I'd shout that out here on the podcast this morning, give everybody a little more to chew on. If you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, that might be a bit out of context. All you got to do is just go back in the archives just one day and listen to hour 9 of the 24 hours of action podcast. Moving on to today's topic, and it centers around evolution, or what I describe as evolution. And I'm going to start you off with a quote. I use this quote all the time because it's applicable in a variety of situations. And the quote is this: "Evolution did not end with us growing opposable thumbs." End quote. And that quote is from Bill Hicks. He is a comedian who I absolutely admire, and he passed away about 20 some years ago. And I think his work is as relevant today as it was in the time in which it was created. Definitely give Bill Hicks a look if you haven't heard of him. He's all over YouTube, and you can't miss him. But that evolution not ending with us growing opposable thumbs, that is really the central theme of our topic today. So in a recent interview, I was being interviewed, and I was asked a question that's very similar to one that I ask of all my guests on the Dramatic Travels podcast, my other podcast. And the question was, what advice would you give someone who's hesitant about the idea of traveling abroad? And my answer was that there are kind people, wonderfully kind people in every corner of this world. Get out there and meet them. And the second part of my answer was, allow your personal beliefs to be challenged and find joy in changing your views. Because we sometimes forget that our evolution is ongoing, and that changing our views is a very important part of our evolution as individuals, and then as the human race. And I think changing our views is perhaps the best way to accelerate that evolution. And then in the context of travel, which was this interview was all centered around travel, that travel is a great way to accelerate the evolution and changing of your views, which is in turn one of the best ways to accelerate your personal development, your personal evolution. Wanted to share a story on that note real quick. Yesterday, I listened to a podcast for the first time called The Ray Edwards Show. Ray is a copywriting expert, and I'd heard him on a podcast that I really enjoy called The Speaker Lab, which is all about public speaking and how to become a public speaker, how to be a better public speaker. Anything public speaking, you're going to find on The Speaker Lab with Grant Baldwin. So Ray was a guest on The Speaker Lab, and he was discussing the art of writing a compelling and persuasive speech. And I really found him fascinating. He's a big, powerful voice, a little bit of a southern accent. A guy you can just listen to all day long. I found out that Ray had his own podcast, so I decided to check it out and realized real quickly he has hundreds of episodes to listen to. So I start scrolling through and just looking for an episode title that's going to grab me with hundreds of episodes. Where do you start? Came across an episode called How to Have More Aha Moments. And that one got me, because who doesn't want to have more aha moments? One thing I found out shortly after pushing play on Ray's show is that Ray's Christian beliefs are a big part of his show. They're an integral part of the Ray Edwards Show, and I must be honest and tell you that did not appeal to me, and I literally almost turned the show off. Now, like I said, Ray's got a compelling voice, and even though he spent the first few minutes of this episode discussing a Bible verse, and it was really a preacher-like rant, I stuck around. I listened to it because I wanted to hear how to have more aha moments, and I didn't hit the fast forward button. I listened to the episode in its entirety, and I'm glad that I hung in there. Had two takeaways from the show. I'm going to link up the show and link up Ray's website in the show notes if you want to learn more about him, but this is a brief show. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just two quick notes. Two bad listening habits that can be limiting in terms of having aha moments, because we learn from other people. And when we take the time to listen and learn from other people, that plants ideas in our head that ultimately lead to aha moments. So 2 pitfalls to avoid in conversation with people. I'm going to give them to you right now, fast and furious. Number 1 is avoid what Ray calls the Me Too switch. And what the Me Too switch is when you're listening to someone talking, and the first thing you do is in your mind, you relate what they're saying back to something that had happened to you. And you say, me too. And you say, oh, well, thanks for telling me about, your trip to Costco. Here's what happened to me at Costco. And instead of doing that, just keep asking questions. Let them keep talking. and learn. And that's when the learning's going to happen. And just continuing to ask follow-up questions and be genuinely interested and intrigued by what the person you're speaking with has to say. Number 2, this is actually, it's very similar in concept, but it's really when the opposite is happening, when it's the opposite of me too, when you're speaking with someone who you completely disagree with, and rather than spending your time preparing your counter argument in your mind while the person is speaking, rather than formulating that response and contradicting everything they say, just keep asking questions. Ask why they believe what they believe. Excuse me. Did you hear that burp? I hope you didn't. But if you did, it's going to stay in there because I don't have time to edit this. I don't edit any of these episodes, so you get to hear all my bodily functions. Anyway, where was I? Right. Rather than formulating a response and contradictions, ask them why they believe what they believe and how they came to believe it. Just keep asking questions. The person will know that you're not, it'll disarm that person, and it'll let them know that you're not coming from an angle of being adversarial, that you just want to learn more about them. And it doesn't mean you have to change your views, but you're definitely going to get a more honest and personal insight into their mind, which can go a long way. All right, guys, allow those personal beliefs to be challenged. Find joy in changing your views. It just might be the greatest accelerator of your evolution that you'll ever find. All right, guys, that's it. Happy Friday. Please, right now, head over to 24 Hours of Action. Get on that mailing list. I'm going to be sending out some special bonuses today, Friday, May 4th. So if you get on that list right away, you'll get in on those bonuses. And subscribe to the podcast, rate and review the podcast. You know what to do. You've been hearing me go on about this for 10 days, so you guys know what's up. All right, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.